You could ask the insurance company for them to fund a treatment plan or a functional behavior assessment. That's where someone like myself, a BCBA, comes in and writes an assessment, identifies treatment goals, and makes recommendations as to the specific number of hours that we would recommend of ABA. So what's great is I then take that formal report from your diagnostician that says this child has autism and here's the why, here are their core deficits. I then take the report from a team of BCBAs to say, hey, this is the treatment goals, this is how we're going to treat these core deficits, and this is how many hours we need to do it. You put those two things together, you submit it to the insurance company, and then they're able to approve direct hours for the child. So we talked before about fully funded plans, but there is another plan called self-funded, and this law does not apply to self-funded plans. However, some self-funded plans do cover ABA. In the self-funded plan, it's up to the employer as to what they're going to cover. So some employers have said we will cover ABA, and some employers have actually changed their mind on a case-by-case basis and said, you know, we don't cover ABA, but in your case we will. So you still always want to call your insurance company and at least make the request. Ask for the authorization for ABA or for a treatment plan through the self-funded company. Worst case scenario, if you live here in California, is that you'll take that denial letter they give you, you'll take it back to your regional center, and it'll help you maintain your regional center funding. But you might find yourself getting approved, and I've had that happen quite a few times. Within this whole self-funding arena, there's a couple things to keep in mind. You do have the right to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis and ask for a medical review, and that's how you would go about getting something covered that may be not covered by your self-funded plan. And you always have the opportunity to talk to your HR department and let them know, hey, I know we don't have this as a covered benefit now, but this is something I really want. You'd be really surprised what a difference that can make when a number of employees come together, go to their HR department, and let them know these are the benefits that are really important to me that I want to see at our next open enrollment. I've heard a lot of companies make changes due to that type of feedback. So real quick, if you take a look at this slide, I actually have a list here of different California companies that have self-funded plans that cover ABA. Now this is not exhaustive, but it's going to give you a quick sense of some of the big ones here in California. Also, if you're part of a labor union, a guild, I'm in Los Angeles and we have a lot of acting guilds and writers guilds. A lot of them actually cover ABA too because their members spoke up and voiced the need for it. So I want to take a little bit of time to talk a little bit about the costs. The biggest change that's going to come up for you is that in the regional center system, everything has been covered. Now that we're moving into insurance, there are some costs associated with services. And the big terms to understand are going to be co-pays, deductibles, and out-of-pocket max. And I actually think the out-of-pocket max is one of the most important terms for you to be aware of. So if we take a look at this example, we have an HMO plan here. So as you know with an HMO, you have to stay in network. So the very first thing you should be asking a provider is, are you in my network? If you have Aetna, you need to make sure you know what providers are in Aetna's network. Because if you have an HMO through them, you need to stay in their network. Now, the big thing to be aware of is first the copay. What's nice about ABA is that it's a daily copay. It's not based on how many sessions you have. It's not based on how many people come into your home. Anyone who's getting ABA services knows you have an interventionist or a therapist who provides the direct work, and then a BCBA supervisor coming in to supervise the program. And they overlap quite a bit. You don't have to pay 2 copays, one for each of them. It's just one copay for ABA. However, the copays can add up. You know, in this example here, we're looking at a copay of $25 a day. So if I have ABA 5 days a week, that is $125. But that isn't $125 for 52 weeks of the year, because you do have something called an out-of-pocket max. And in this example, we have an out-of-pocket max of $3,000. What that means is, if I start paying my copays on week 1, it's going to take 26 weeks for me to hit my out-of-pocket max. So 26 weeks at $125 is $3,000. The rest of the year, you have no copay associated with any of your ABA services. The other thing to keep in mind is this out-of-pocket max is about every single service for the child. It could be pediatrician visits. It could be for prescriptions. It's everything that you would have to pay a copay for or any out-of-pocket costs for your child. Also, you want to know your plan, because some plans are actually set up where the out-of-pocket max is for the entire family, not each individual under the plan. All right, let's look at the next example. Now, this example is a PPO, and I use this example because you'll see that in this plan we actually have something called a deductible, and most PPO plans do have that. In this plan, you have a situation where you must pay $3,000 out of pocket before your copays start kicking in. So I spend $3,000 out of pocket in full, then I start having a $20 a day copay. But again, I have an out-of-pocket max, and that out-of-pocket max in this plan is $5,000 if I stay in the network. If I hit that out-of-pocket max with my copays, everything else is 100% covered, no copays from that point on. But with both the PPO and the HMO, you need to remember your deductibles and your out-of-pocket max reset every year. Now, the majority of plans are going to reset on January 1st, but some are July 1st, some have some other dates. Again, make sure you know the date that your plan resets. If you're looking at a PPO, also be aware of that in-network versus out-of-network. Most of the time, your deductible and your out-of-pocket max will double if you decide to go out-of-network. So again, really important to know, is the agency I'm working with in network with my insurance company, or who are the agencies in network with my insurance company, so I can make the best choice both for clinical services for my child and also financially for our family. Now, one last example to just keep in mind is called co-insurance. Co-insurance is far less common than the two types of plans we looked at already. But in this plan, the same rules apply, but instead of having a daily copay, I pay a percentage of the cost for the service. So I would pay 10% of the per hour cost for the service. So again, you just need to be flexible here. With a copay, I pay the same copay if it's 2 hours a day or if it's 6 hours a day. With a co-insurance, that 2 hours versus 6 hours would have a different cost, because now I am tripling the amount of cost of the service, so I would be responsible for 10% of that cost. So let's talk real brief about denials. And this is unfortunately the inevitable piece. At some point in time, you will receive a denial, whether it be early on or way, way down the road, once tons of progress and tons of goals have been met. You do have rights in the denial process. You have the right to just appeal any denial. You can appeal any delay in your service, and you can appeal any change to your service. Now, what's really important to note about the change in service is that just like when you have a regional center program or a school program, when they deny you or make a change and reduce hours, if you disagree, you have the right to stay put. What that means is they can't actually change your services until after your appeal has been ruled on. And that's always been the case with schools and regional centers as well. When you do get a denial for any of these things, you're going to get it in writing, and they're going to tell you why you were denied, what you can do to appeal that denial, and when you need to do it by. Now, the only dilemma is they're not going to tell you what they need to overturn your denial. You have to figure that out yourself. So a lot of families who I work with, we work through this process together. We look at the denial letter together. We do a conference call. We talk about what we can put together, what the parents can put together, and how we're going to strategize to make the best case. Because sometimes the information is not readily available in the report. Sometimes they misunderstand the report. And sometimes they just have a completely different opinion. And you just want to make sure you know and have the best strategy of saying, why is this medically necessary? Why are these goals critical to my child's medical needs?